All right, you are looking at the brand new Camera Butter Cinema 1 frame. This is a purpose-built frame for freestyle and for cinematic flying. And I have been working on this for a very long time. I've gone through countless prototypes and I've gotten to the point where I'm extremely happy with how this flies, how it functions, and its strength. So there's a few things that make this frame special. The first is, what you're looking at right now is essentially an X frame or a quasi-X frame. So this distance is about the same as this distance. But what I can do is I can take off the front two arms. And the nice thing about these arms is you can take them off with just 2 screws. So I take the arm out, I flip it over, screw it back together.
The other screw in.
Get that nice and tight. Do the same with the other front arm.
That second screw out.
Flip that guy over.
Put it back together. The last screw back in.
So now, what we've got is we've taken our X configuration and we've turned that into a deadcat 5. So if you want to do cinematic flying and you don't want your props in view, this pulls the motors back and gets the props out of view from your camera. Not only that, but we could swap out the 5-inch arms for these arms. And these arms work in 7-inch sort of quasi-X, front and back. Or you can flip over the front arms and do the same thing and get deadcat arms. So this way would be your long distance 7-inch quad. This way would be your cinematic 7-inch quad with the props out of view. Not only that, but in X configuration, this will also take 8-inch props. So you've got a 5-inch X, you've got a 5-inch deadcat. If you get the 7-inch arms, you've got 7-inch long distance efficiency monster. You've got 7-inch deadcat for cinematic flying, and you've got an 8-inch, super efficient long distance quad. So that's the arms. We've also got a lot of space in this quad. So there's a 20 by 20 mount in the back, so you can put your, CAD-X Vista or some boards back there. There's a 30 by 30 and 20 by 20 mount here in the middle. And by the way, the stack screws are not used for the arms, so that keeps the vibrations down significantly. Also, the stack screws only go through one plate. So we've got this sandwich here of a split bottom plate, and that split bottom plate gives this a lot of strength because you've got this sandwich between this plate, the arms, and there's a little piece in the middle, this little bug that goes in the middle, and it braces the arms so they are super locked in and tight, and these things do not move at all. So these stack screws only go through one plate. There's a big hole here, so the stack screw goes all the way through this and then screws through that, so that keeps the vibrations down significantly. We've also got a 20 by 20 mount on the front, so if your camera is forward far enough, you can stick something else in there as well. So like I said, the arms are super stable, super locked in place. This keeps the vibrations down by having the stack screws not be used for the arms and only going through one plate. It's nice and solid because of this sandwich, which also keeps the vibrations down. And all of that adds up to a really smooth flying, easy to tune quad. So there's a few different ways you can mount the camera. So it comes with these 3D printed camera mounts, and they can go, there's a short one and a long one depending on the type of camera you use. You can fit them in like this for a narrow camera, or you can fit them in like this for a wider camera, like a full-sized FPV cam, like a Runcam Swift or something like that. Now, this is a great flexible frame. It's super solid, and one of the reasons it's super solid is because of the really tight tolerances in here and how the pieces go together. So because of these super tight tolerances, it's a little bit tough to put together for the first time. Once you get it together once, it's easy to swap out arms, as you saw, and swap out components, but that first time can be a little bit tough. So I'm going to show you how to build this thing. So here's what a fully built Camera Butter Cinema 1 looks like. As you can see, I'm using the Hero 8 mount, and you can download a Hero 8 mount, a Hero 9 mount, and a couple of different mounts for the Insta361R. I'm using the 3D printed piece to attach my pigtail and antenna to, and that's nice and solid. And I've got a DJI camera in here and using the 3D printed camera mounts. I'm also using the battery pad and, of course, the Camera Butter Halo motors. These are absolutely fantastic. Loving these motors. They should be out very, very soon. They are perfect for freestyle and cinematic, and they go great on this frame. All right, so this is what you get with this frame. This is a top plate. You get two bottom plates. They fit together nicely like that. You get, if you bought the version with the 5-inch arms, you get the 5-inch arms. If you get the version with the 7-inch, 8-inch arms, you get those. And there's also a version with both sets of arms. There is the little sort of bug that goes in the middle to reinforce everything and keep it all solid. We've also got a bunch of screws. So these are our 6mm screws. We've got 12mm screws. We've got 14mm screws. There are 23mm standoffs. There's 6 of those. And there's 30mm standoffs. You also get a Camera Butter battery strap, whole bunch of 3D printed parts, and I'll show you what those are all for in a minute. There's a Camera Butter sticker and a battery pad if you use those. So let's get rid of all this stuff. Like I said in the beginning, it can be a little bit tricky to assemble this thing because of the tolerances involved, but it's actually not too hard once you know how to do it. So what we do first is we take the larger of the two bottom plates. So this one's got larger holes than that one, and it's a little bit longer. So we take that one. Then we take our longer 14mm screws, and we put those on the inside of each corner. Then we take the, oops, that was the wrong one. The shorter screws, we put them on the outside of the corners. Now we need to flip this over without all the screws falling over. So what I like to do is I like to take a piece of paper Put it over top. Pull it out. Now we start putting in arms. So let's say we're going to build the X configuration in 5-inch. So we put the arms in like this. These are the two front arms. There we go. Once we've got two arms in, we put in the brace. Let's put the rear arms in. Get that to fit right in there, and it might be really tight. You might have to wiggle it a little bit. And the same with this one. This one's even tighter. There. Okay, you can see these arms aren't even screwed in yet, and they're already super solid, and it's all because of that. So then what we do is we take the second bottom plate, and we want to put it on over top here. So we want to get the screws through the bottom plate, but because of these super tight tolerances, you're not going to be able to get those screws through quite right away. So what we do is we turn it over, and we back these screws off until we get that second plate flush with the arms. So back these off. There we go. So now everything's all flush. Now what you'd like to do is just screw these screws through this hole now. But the problem is, again, because of these tight tolerances, sometimes it won't go through the hole. It'll just start pushing this plate up. And so what we need to do is we need to take this plate and pull it into alignment over those holes. So then what I do is I will take the two outside screws right out, and temporarily I'll put them through the top. And by kind of screwing these in tight, it'll pull this whole plate a little bit forward. So you get those in. You don't have to screw them in all the way, just enough to pull the plate forward. There we go. And now we should be able to screw these bottom screws all the way through these holes. So just watch to make sure it comes through. There we go, it's starting to come through. And if it starts pushing that plate up again, you're going to have to probably screw those in a little bit more, just to pull the plate forward a little bit more. Okay, we got one. And the other one. There. I think that's coming through. Yes, it is. Okay. Now we can take these ones out again and put them through the proper direction. And if that doesn't work, you can always take your nut driver and stick it through all the holes and use it as a lever to bring the holes into alignment. So all the screws are coming from the bottom up through this sandwich here. There we go. So, like I said, this frame isn't nearly together yet, and these arms do not move. So they are super solid. And that makes the frame strong, and it reduces vibration significantly. So the next thing we do is we have these little nylock nuts. Those go on the outside, like this. And you can tighten those up. You can hold those with pliers and then tighten them from below, but we're gonna just leave that. Then what we do is we take the 4 of the shorter standoffs, that's the 23 mil standoffs, and I put them on these screws. And again, tighten those up. Then what we do is we take 2 of the shorter screws, that's the 6 mil screws, put them through the back, that's the rear of the frame. And the rear of the frame is the end that's a little bit shorter. And put 2 of those 23 mil standoffs through that. Then do the same thing on the front, but this will be with the longer 30 mil standoffs. And again, we want to tighten those up nicely. At this point in time, you can decide how you are going to mount your camera. So for me, I like to use the DJI camera. So we've got a number of different 3D printed camera mounts here. So these 2 short ones, they go on like this. And you can put them as high or low on these standoffs if, as you want. You can also turn them around. It's all right. And put them on like this. You'll get a little bit wider camera in there. And then there's 2 longer camera mounts which will do the same thing. So you can put them on like this for a narrower camera, or like this for a much wider camera like a Runcam Swift. And you can also put them on this way as well if you want to get your camera way out in front. So like that. And the reason you might want to get your camera out in front is so you can use some of this space. So there's this extra 20 by 20 mount here. You can actually get like a quasi-X Vista or something like that in there if your camera is far enough forward. The other thing that you might want to do is there's these 2 3D printed pieces. These are for a SMA pigtail. So those would go on the back like this, and let's say you've got a VTX or a quasi-X Vista or something like that here, then your pigtail would kind of come up and through here. And there's 2 versions of it. There's the kind with the wide mount with the holes in it, and then there's this type that is just straight through. So you can use either one of those. And I highly recommend using a pigtail instead of just putting your antenna directly connected to the VTX, especially with the quasi-X Vista, because if you pull that out, you wreck the traces or wreck the connector. It's really difficult to fix. I've tried. Then the last thing you do is you put the top plate on. So it goes on like this with the hole here in the front to give a little bit more field of view of the camera. And we've got 8 screws to go in to hold that in place. So on the front here, if you're using a 3D printed GoPro mount, I'd recommend using a little bit longer screws than these, because the GoPro mount's going to take up at least 2 or 3 millimeters of this thread. These are already pretty short. So if you're using a GoPro mount, use a little bit longer screws here. So there we go. We have a super solid, light but strong frame that is absolutely fantastic for freestyle and for cinematic use. And it, like I said, it also comes with some stack mount screws. There's M2 screws that go through here and M3 screws that go through here, and there's also some screws that go in this 20 by 20. So there you go.